Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We'll get started in just a few minutes.
Okay.
Good morning.
Hey, Sarah. Welcome back.
Hi, how are you? Thank you. I miss you guys.
How was the trip?
Amazing.
Yeah, it looked really nice.
Yeah, you guys should try it. You should go.
Why don't you
Where'd
tell
you
everyone
go?
where you went?
We got lucky actually. When we got there, we got to convert $100 for 1,730 lira. And the last day we were there, the $100 was 1,790 liras. The dollar kept going up while we were there.
That's amazing. So it didn't cost you as much as it would have last year. Let's say.
No, not at all, because it went up, I believe 1,100 lira
Wow.
between last summer and this summer. Yep.
Why don't you tell everyone where you went?
I went to Istanbul for 2.5 weeks.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, it's really, really nice.
Yeah, it looked really beautiful.
Yeah, it's so cheap. Like the food is so cheap
Yeah.
everywhere. Everything was so cheap.
What'd you do when you were there? What was some of the best stuff you did?
I think my favorite thing was dinner on boats.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it was very luxurious
That's nice.
and very cheap.
And compared to here, that's a good thing about going out of the country.
Yeah, definitely. And then yeah, dinner on rooftops too. I liked it.
That's great. That's what ocean is that? Is that by is that the Mediterranean or what is that?
God, I don't remember. They have the Black Sea.
Black
They
Sea?
have, and they have Marmara Sea.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was one more. I forgot what is it. And then few rivers and falls. It's full of nature.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
And
we got to eat lunch in a glass cabin.
how much is the flight there?
It was 1,000, I think. It was 1,000
Round trip?
round trip, yeah.
Where'd you stay? Different hotels or you have family there?
Two different hotels in the old city of Istanbul, because that's where everything is. That's where all the tourists stay, in the old city, which is the European side.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice. How's the
Yeah.
crime? Not too much crime? Safe?
They have undercover cops everywhere
Oh, that's good.
to protect the tourists. And let
Yeah.
me tell you something, Louis, they love Americans. I swear to you, we're their favorite. The minute they see your American passport, forget it.
Because you're there to spend money.
Yeah, and you know what? We're nice. We're known to be very nice. We have very
Okay.
good reputation in Turkey. So, some tourists, they're very conceited,
Yeah.
and they don't treat people nice.
Mhm.
And Americans known to be very down to earth and very respectful.
That's great. That is really good.
Yeah, and generous.
Not
Very generous.
Not everywhere around the world are we accepted or liked.
Oh my God, they love us.
Wow. That's good. Anyone
Yes.
else? Anyone else go on any trips anywhere? Yeah, that sounds really nice, Sarah. I
Thank
know in
you.
France, they don't really like Americans all too much.
That's why we won't go there.
That's true. Very true.
We'll spend our money where people love us.
Exactly. I heard Germany too. I heard we're liked in Germany. My friend who's he's military, and he said when he was stationed there, he said that Germans really like Americans for some reason. I'm not sure.
We'll go there next summer then.
Yeah, right. That's good.
Now we know where to go. I honestly want to go to Madrid. Like that's one of my dreams.
You want to go to Madrid?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'd like to go all around the southern part of Europe. I've seen how beautiful it is, like south of France or Monaco. All of that looks really beautiful.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, I think it's about time that we get started. Let me just
So you know what else? I had 4 closings while I was on vacation.
look at that. That is such a blessing. Making money while you're away.
Yeah, that was nice.
That is really nice. That's a great feeling, knowing that you're coming home with some money, and
Yeah.
you're spending, and your money's going a long way.
Yeah.
You feel like you're a queen. You could do this. You could do this year round.
Oh my God. I can get used to this.
I know. It's really good. Now all you gotta do is figure out how to show houses from Istanbul, from overseas.
I did sit down with two people that do real estate in Istanbul. I didn't like the way they do business over there. It's weird. Well, first of all, the interest rates is 18%. And that's very normal for them.
Yeah.
They have no idea what a title search is. They don't have title companies. The notary public does it for them.
Yeah.
He just goes to the judge and asks if there's any judgment against the house and if this is the right owner of the house. That's how they transfer title over there. So if you spend 400,000 over there to buy a property, you earn a Turkish citizen immediately.
Oh, you become a citizen, you earn your citizenship. Yeah, in some countries it's like that.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that in some countries. Well, now we know we got a backup plan in case we ever have to leave the States.
Oh, that's right. The way they talk about monkeypox, I'm tired of what they talking about.
Yeah, they're always talking about some nonsense. Sure. That's good. That's really good. Well, you know what? To be honest with you, if we didn't have so much government interference into mortgages and into our economy, our interest rates would be 18% on houses, and we'd be collecting 5%, 7% money on our interest on our money in the bank, but we don't, because it's just so manipulated that interest rates are 4 or 5%, and we get like nothing on our money in the bank. But in a lot of these countries where you see that, there isn't that much government interference. So like governments aren't giving you government-backed mortgages or mortgage assistance or any of that. So that's why, like in my country too, in Guatemala, interest rates are like 18%, and then you get 5% on your money when it's in the bank. So it's all relevant. It really is all relevant. But
so which one is better?
Well,
which one is more beneficial?
Well, look at this. Think about this, right? Before the government stepped into handing out student loans, remember, government-backed student loans, everybody went to college, and college was affordable. A family could afford to put a kid through college, no problem. Even the kid could probably pay for himself to go to college if he just got a part-time job. Now it's impossible. Why? Because government stepped in and said, we're gonna insure all these loans. So then what happens? The institutions, these colleges, because they are run by institutions and for-profit companies, they say, if the government's got to step in and insure these loans, then we can charge more. So they start charging more. Because why? Because people don't really feel it as much when you don't have to make payments right now. You can make payments later. You can defer the interest. It's a very low interest rate. Then we start to become an economy or a country of debtors instead of people who are able to just pay for things outright. So whenever you start to have government interference into things, everything gets more expensive. That's what I'm trying to say. So if we didn't have government interference, our interest rates would be higher, but guess what? Our home prices would be more affordable. Very few people would probably have mortgages. Think about that. So in a lot of countries, that is like that. In a lot of countries, people don't have mortgages. In a lot of countries, people just buy the houses outright. Or they're handed down from generation to generation. But it's all relevant. Some people think it's better, some people think it's not. I can't say if it's better or worse, because the government interference into the economy has created a market for investors. It's created a market for people who rent properties and make money off of them, because we're able to leverage that structure that's already in place. But who knows? Who knows what it would be like if it wasn't like that? It'd probably be a lot more like Istanbul or Guatemala or other parts of the country or the world. I mean, yeah, there probably wouldn't be as many people buying and selling. That's why our economy is very big. Cool.
How was your vacation?
My vacation was nice. We obviously went there because I had to take care of some business for my parents, because they left a lot of things up in the air when they left. But the rest of the time was basically just sightseeing. I literally drove. We rented a car, so I literally drove. I don't know if you guys know where Guatemala sits, but Guatemala is right underneath Mexico, so it touches both the Atlantic and the Pacific. So we spent like 2 weeks there. So I drove literally from the Atlantic to the Pacific. It was really cool. The Pacific side is a little nicer, but Guatemala is just like one of those countries is not really that well taken care of, but has a lot of natural beauty, like tons of natural beauty. But unfortunately, like the governments really don't take really good care. Well, I say the governments, I mean, like the local governments, like the cities, they don't really take good care of their infrastructure or like their, I would say the cleanliness of the city. But when you get out of like where the more populated places are, it's so beautiful. It's just like really nice nature and mountains and oceans and rivers. It's really, really nice. But I was glad to be home after 2 weeks. It was enough time.
Yes, I agree. You miss home, right? My kids got bored.
Yeah, definitely. You miss the States. You know, one of the things that I miss the most, and I don't know if you guys have ever, I could relate to this, but driving in these third world countries, horrible, like unbelievably horrible. And then you come home, you're like, oh my God, these streets are so, people have manners and people,
Manners.
yeah, right. People know how to drive. They don't try to kill you when you're on the road. It's just so different, very different. But yeah, I was glad to be home. Good. All right. So that's kind of like the stuff that I want to talk to you guys about today is the things are kind of like changing on the on the horizon right now for us in the real estate market. And I wanted to just cover a couple of the things that I've been seeing. So last week I talked about, you know, looking at your absorption reports on your MLS and seeing how much more inventory there is now than there was maybe a few months ago. I know a few of you did. And I even talked to Trina during the week, and she was having a little bit of a hard time finding it on her MLS, but we found it. And in Tulsa, where she's from, her inventory, the inventory on the market, she's like, oh my, there's like never any inventory in Tulsa. Her market, her local market went from 1 month to the next, which is I think July was the last month, or it might have been, yeah, it was July was the last month that they had data on, because it's not a full month in August yet. The inventory went up 400% in her local marketplace in just 1 month. It was insane. She couldn't believe it. I was shocked too. It was like up 4 times as much as it was the previous months. So the market is starting to change. So why should we care about this? Because now we're finally going to start to see some opportunities for our investors. There's probably finally going to be some inventory for them to look at for either fix and flips or for long-term rentals. Okay. So it's probably been a while since we looked at a property to see if it makes sense for our clients or maybe even for ourselves. So today we're going to brush up on what it would look like to, I guess, look at an investment property and see if it makes sense for our clients or if it doesn't make sense. Because, you know, at the end of the day, we're only as good as the information we have. If we don't understand how to educate our clients or even keep up with our clients, you know, they're going to want to work with somebody who does have a little bit more, I guess, knowledge in that space. So today we're going to first look at a calculator, or 2 calculators I built out, but the first calculator that I built out basically will save your clients from making big mistakes. Because what's a bigger mistake than buying a property and then losing money on it? Who's ever had the experience of buying a property as an investment and losing money? I have. I mean, if you haven't yet, then if you're an investor and you haven't lost money on an investment, you haven't done enough properties yet, because there will be a day where you lose money on a property, right? For different reasons. So a wise man once said that you don't make your money in real estate when you sell, you make it when you buy. And it's very true. It's all about the price point, because if you buy something at the right price, no matter what happens with that property, you're going to break even or make money. But if you buy it at just like a ridiculous price, you're doomed from the very beginning. You know, you're going to be doomed unless you just get lucky and the market just takes off like a rocket. You know, that happens sometimes, but you know, you can't base your business model on that. You got to always make sure that you are playing very conservatively, and you're doing your numbers in a way where even if everything did go against you, you're still able to either get out of that property at a break even, or you're able to refinance and pull your money back out and then keep going, because the music can't stop at your last property, because then you're done. You can't do that. All right. That's a recipe for disaster. So we're going to take a look at, I guess we could take a look at the calculators first. And then if you guys have any properties that you want me to run through this scenario, you know, you can start looking through your I guess your portfolio properties that you might be looking at for clients, or maybe there's something that might have just popped up on the MLS. We can look at examples and run them through here and see if they make sense. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm gonna share my screen real quick. See what we got here. Here it is. Okay, good. Okay. All right, you guys can see the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good, good. All right, so there's mainly there's two ways that investors get money for renovating properties. Either they're buying cash, if they've been doing this for a while, or they've been sitting on money for a while, or maybe they even sold a property in this crazy market that we just had and just sitting on a ton of cash. They can either buy a property cash, which is what we're going to look at here on this side, okay? Or they could buy a house with private money, whether that's they raised money from their family and they have to pay back an interest, or they're taking money out from a hard money lender. We're not going to go in the middle of the road and say, hey, look, my investor's going to act like if they're going to live there and get an FHA loan. That's not a scalable way of becoming an investor. That's a one-off. You do that as a house hack your first time around. But this is what you're going to deal with when you're a mainline investor. You're either going cash or you're going private funds. Okay. So does anyone have a property they want to run through this? If not, I'm just going to pull one out of my hat.
Sure.
Yeah. You
Sure.
guys have
Can I
one?
send the address?
Yeah, just give it to me here. I'll look it up.
Okay. It's 114 Greenbrook Road.
One word, Greenbrook?
Yeah, one word, Greenbrook Road. And then the town is Greenbrook, 2 separate words. Yeah.
Okay. So we've got this here. So this property right now, do you have a price that they're asking for?
They're asking for 285.
285. Okay, they're asking 285. Now, this investor, is he looking to buy this house to flip it or to keep it as a rental?
He wants to add one more bathroom in the attic.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
Okay.
He said downstairs looks good. It's funny, he just sent this to me.
Got it. So now this guy, does he have like a parameter that he likes to usually make on properties? Does he like to make 10%? Does he like on a house like this? Does he want to make 30,000? Does he want to make 50K? What would be his ideal scenario after paying all expenses? Do you think?
He just wants to rent it.
Oh, he wants to keep it.
Yeah.
Oh, he wants to keep it. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So it's 285 and he's telling me to offer 240.
Okay, so we're going to use that. We're going to use that example for our next calculator, which is going to be here. Okay.
Sure.
For this one, we need to find a property that's going to be a fix or flip, fix
Sure.
and flip. So let's run that property first as a fix and flip. And then we're going to see if it makes more sense as a fix and flip or if it makes more sense as a rental. Okay. So let's just say that guy wants to make 10% on his money just to be safe, right? Right. What do you think this house would be worth renovated with an extra bathroom? Do you have an idea of what things are going for? Let's look at the map here. Maybe we have an idea. So this property seems to be about 1,100 square feet, Cape Cod. There was one that sold for 390 here, renovated, same house, 390. So is this a good comp, 390?
Yeah, I
Okay,
mean,
perfect
it's yeah, exactly. It's almost the same square footage, same
Yeah.
description.
Look, this recently closed next year, 6/23, or was that June? Okay, June 23rd. I just closed. Okay, cool. Not next year.
Yeah, maybe 2 months ago.
Yeah, that's cool. So that's 390. All right, so good. Now, if it's 390, let's just say the guy's being very conservative and he says, look, I just want to make 10% profit. So 10% profit on $390,000 would be 10% on the sale price would be about $39,000. So let's just say he wants to make $39,000. That's why I built this calculator out so you guys can put any number you want in here. So we're going to start with the desired profit first, and that's going to make everything else make sense. So the after repair value, we know it's 390 because we just found this perfect comp right across the street. So we're going to plug in 390. And now we're going to say, okay, well, how much construction cost is this house gonna undergo? Now, for something like this, if you guys are not familiar with how much construction costs, you can easily just ask your investor or the contractor that they're working with, hey, what's the ballpark where you think this house is going to cost to renovate? Even if it's maybe a 2 or 3K HUD consultant, whatever, if they went in there for the property, you can see what they came up with. But ballpark, what do you think it would cost to renovate this place?
Can we say 50?
Yeah, we can keep it at 50. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, liens, why did I put liens in here? Because when you're buying a property, the house should be free of liens, right? You shouldn't have any liens when you buy a property, right?
Correct.
All right. But sometimes they do, because when you buy a house either at a sheriff's sale or sometimes you're buying a house as a short sale and the bank doesn't want to cover liens, well, you add it in here. Okay. So we want to account for everything. Now, yearly taxes, why am I putting in the yearly taxes here? Because there's this phenomenon called carrying costs that people don't factor in when they're buying a property, and carrying costs are a real thing. They can eat into your margin very fast. So for this property, if we wanted to factor in taxes, which are going to be carrying costs, we got to look to see what the taxes are on this property and base it off of that. So we've got not too bad, 5,900. That's why I like Somerset. That's Somerset County.
I believe yes,
Yeah,
actually.
Somerset
Yes.
County's got great taxes.
Yeah.
Okay, 5,900. Okay, so we know we've got that. Now, if there's any unpaid taxes, then that's our responsibility. If there's any open waters, that would be our responsibility. If we're buying it as a sheriff sale, maybe a short sale. In this case, it's a regular transaction, so I'm gonna leave that at 0. Now, any miscellaneous expenses such as like sewer or garbage, etc. In some cities, you're responsible for those things. So let's just say that cost would be, is this on a yearly basis? No, this is just flat. Is there a formula here? Okay. Let's just put in here $250 just to have something. Okay, now we've got any miscellaneous carrying costs in case there's something here we may have missed. We can always put it in here. Now, months until sold, this is very key because this is going to factor our expenses. So if our taxes are 5,900, it's going to factor 6 months of the taxes that are going to be our responsibility. We can change this to 4 just to give you guys an idea of what it may look like if we change this up a little bit. So we're going to put 4 months, which means that we're going to own it for 4 complete months between the acquisition, the renovation, and the sale. We're going to own it for 4 months. The insurance on that property, remember guys, when you're renovating a home, you don't pay regular insurance. You pay what's called not workman's comp. You're going to pay what is that name of that insurance policy that we have? Builder's risk. So it's called builder's risk insurance policy. The builder's risk insurance policy covers you and your house in the event that anyone gets hurt there while the construction is going on. Never try to have a regular insurance policy when there's construction going on in your house, because if someone gets hurt, you're not covered. The insurance company will not cover you. You're gonna be very upset. So let's say builder's risk. So let's say that policy is gonna cost you $2,200 because insurance has gone up. $2,200. Insurance has gone up a lot. Now your closing costs. If you have no attorney. Now, sometimes you could have an attorney, right? So what are we going to put here? Your closing costs could be any amount, 4,000, 5,000, it depends on, what kind of taxes you have and all that. Let's go with a little bit cheaper because the house doesn't have that much high taxes. Okay, and then closing costs when you sell the property. Remember, you're going to sell this property one day too, right? To flip it, you got to sell it. And when you sell it, you have expenses. So here we're factoring in a 5% commission to a realtor. Now it could be less, if you've agreed to charge your client less, but let's just keep it at 5. That means they're going to have $23,000 worth of expenses when they sell the property as well. And then utilities while they own the property. Remember, utilities while they own the property would be like gas, electric, water, those types of things. Okay. That's being factored in here too, because sometimes we don't factor those things in when we're renovating home. And then the taxes while you own the property. Remember these taxes up here? Well, this calculator already calculated how much you're going to pay in your property taxes, not capital gains, not state taxes. This is just property taxes. So that means the maximum you could pay on this house in order to turn a $39,000 profit. The most you could pay would be $269,000, knowing that you could sell it for $390,000, knowing that you have $50K in construction costs, knowing that everything else is what we spoke about down there. It tells you here the max you can pay for this home to make to make $39,000 is $269,000. Now, if you got another contractor that tells you, hey, I could do it for $45,000, well, then that changes things and says, now you could pay $274,000. Okay. All right, so now we can educate our clients a little bit more and say, hey, look, you want to make $39,000? This may not be the right price to pay for this home. The market could continue going up, and this could be $415,000, But the way things are looking right now, I think we should stick with a 390 sale because we know that that's a definite because we got that across the street. Okay. Now that's with cash. Now, what if our client's not going cash? What if our client's going with hard money? How much can they pay then? Right now, this shouldn't be a game of guesswork for you and your clients. This should be actual hard numbers that you guys can look at. Now, don't get me wrong. This may kill a lot of properties that you guys are looking at, but it's better for you to be able to keep a client happy deal after deal rather than selling them one property and then they fail and never buy another property again. You know,
Yes.
so think about, and especially for yourselves, if you guys are thinking about buying a property for yourselves, please use this calculator. I mean, I literally have poured years of experience into building this out for you guys to use. So now let's just say we want the same desired profit here, but we're going to do it with hard money. We want $39,000. The after repair value we know was 390 because that's what we said. Construction costs, let's say, is 45,000. Yearly taxes were 5,900.
Yes.
And we have some miscellaneous expenses here. I think that's what we did. Yeah, good.
And you're gonna own it for 4 months.
You're gonna own it for 4 months. Interest rate, we're gonna get 10% is very, very likely. Could even be 11, 12. We can play around with this, whatever we want. I'm gonna keep it at 10% for right now. So this is telling you right now, your mortgage payments are gonna be $8,450 while you own the property. Your insurance is going to be the same as it is here, $2,200. Your purchase closing costs, look how they've jumped up. Your closing costs went from being $3,500 to now being $12,000. Why is that? Why are your closing costs so much more now?
Because you have a lender involved now.
Yeah, you got a lender, and lenders charge you. Lenders are going to charge you points.
Correct.
So yeah, you don't want that. So when you have points, you know, you're going to end up having to pay a lot more for closing costs. So now I've got 12,000 in here. Then we've got an additional expenses when we sell it. Remember, we're going to have that 5% with a realtor, and we have other closing costs such as transfer taxes and all that. So we're going to have the same here. We're going to have utilities here. We're going to have taxes here while we own the property taxes. So now the most we can pay on that house is $257 if we want to make that same return. Okay. So now our clients have to make decisions. Now, we going cash or we going hard money? Well, if you had the opportunity to do both, either one, you show this to your client. Like, look, if you're going to go hard money, the most you can pay is $257. If you're going to go cash, well, the most you can pay is $224. Right. So now you've got something more tangible to show people for them to be able to make these decisions. Do you guys have any questions on this? Do you guys have any comments on this?
Wow, this is really nice. Can we get a copy of this profit calculator?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to share all of this stuff with you guys. Let me just grab it.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, you guys are only going to be viewers. And for you guys who don't know what that means, viewers means that when you get a copy of this, you got to go to here, file. You got to go to make a copy. And then once you click on make a copy, you rename it anything you want. And then once it's in your files, in your Google Docs files or Google Drive files, then you can edit it. But you cannot edit my version because my version is my version, and I have code in here and I don't want it to get messed up. So in case you guys ever mess up the code, you can just say, hey, Lewis, I messed up the code. Can you share that with me again? And I'll give it to you again. Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. So this is that. Let me share it right now in the chat. Okay, you guys got it now.
Thank you so much.
No problem, no problem. All right, so now we've kind of got a good idea of what we can pay for a property if it's being flipped. Now, what about if we want to keep the property? Does it make sense to keep a property? Is this property going to make a good cash flow for us? Is it going to make any money for us? Or is it just going to be like a dog that's going to be costing us money every month, right? How do we know that going forward? You know, it's easy to figure out what the mortgage payment is going to be, but what about everything else? We don't factor in everything else off the top of our head. It's not as easy as just that. So now we're going to take a look at that same property. We're going to say, okay, we're going to buy this home. You know, we don't know what we're going to pay for it yet, but let's just go with an idea. Let's just say if we got it under contract for whatever price, right? So, Sarah, what do you think you'd be able to get that house for, that property for?
We're gonna offer. He's He's a little bit stingy.
Uh-huh.
So he wants to offer 240.
240. Okay, let's go with $240,000. All right, so let's just say the purchase price is going to be $240,000. What do you think that the monthly rent's going to be on that place?
For well, the rent went up by 18%. And
Yeah.
I know he's gonna use the new rent.
You don't have to go exact, but just give me a ballpark figure.
I'm gonna say 2,200.
2,200.
It's a
Alright.
guess. It could be more. I don't know.
All right, so 2,200. We can change this later to make it make sense, okay? And then we can
Yeah.
also suggest to him, hey, look, in order for you to really be profitable here, you should go with X, Y, or Z. So 2,200 a month, that's 26,000 a year, 26,400 a year. All right, if this was a 5-unit property, an 8-unit property, we can even add more units here. We can just go down the line and add more income, okay? This is our
Sure.
pro forma. Our pro forma is a projection of what our property is going to make. All right, you guys, this is all going to make sense in just a second. If the place had parking and we charge for parking, we can add that in here. If it has laundry, we could add that in here. All that stuff we can add in. So right now, what we're going to do is we're going to factor in a couple of things, a couple of different things. We're going to skip a couple of things and it'll make sense for you guys later. Okay. So
Okay.
first things first, we're going to go here to say, all right. So our mortgage, we're gonna have a mortgage on this place. Hopefully, most of your clients will probably want to have a mortgage on it. Even if they buy cash, they'll probably end up refinancing, taking money out because they're gonna want to continue buying more property. So let's just say they are going to take a mortgage. Majority of our clients are probably gonna have some sort of a mortgage. So right here, the mortgage payment is calculated at a 5% interest rate, interest only. Now rates have gone up, so I'm going to change this. And I'm going to make this 6. You guys can also do the same thing. All you have to do is double click and put in the number. So I'm going to make this a 6% interest only. Okay.
Sure.
So that means our payment now is going to be $1,360 a month, $16,000 a year. We're not going to say we have a second mortgage on this. We're just going to go with one mortgage. Now the insurance on a rental property, depending on, obviously all the characteristics of it, probably about $2,000 a year. That's about right. So we'll keep this at $170 a month. That's not bad. This automatically changes, guys, when you change either one of these. So if you change this to, let's say, $200 a month. Sorry, if I change this, because usually you get your policies on a yearly basis. It changes automatically to monthly at 200. So let's just say it's 2,400, 200 a month. Now, gas and electric, is that our responsibility? Well, sometimes it is, because in a multi-unit building, sometimes you share utilities. In this one, it's a single family, so it doesn't. But let's just say it did. Let's just say the utilities were $500 a year. We can put that in here, and then we would, they're supposed to automatically, let me see why it's not here. See. Sorry, yeah, I should have automatically done that. So here, whatever you put on a yearly basis, it'll also translate to what it is on a monthly basis, okay? Yeah.
Is there, Louis, I'm sorry to interrupt, but this property is also in a flood zone.
Yeah, okay.
I know he's gonna carry a flood insurance too.
Got it. So then you would just add that to the insurance here. So let's just say it's an extra $1,000 a year for flood insurance. Then we would make this, let's make it $3,600 a year. All right, so that's $300 a month in insurance. All right, landscaping. Usually on single family homes, when I rent out single family homes, I make the tenant responsible for landscaping.
Sure.
So this we can make 0. But if it wasn't, if it was a building, we'd have to put something in there for that. Pest control. Yeah, you want to have pest control in multifamily homes because you're going to have tenants that are dirty and some tenants that are clean, and the clean tenants are going to leave because the dirty tenants are attracting roaches or mice or whatever the case is. So every 3 to 6 months, you want to try to get pest control. But on this place, again, we don't need that because it's a single family house. Taxes, I think we said the taxes on this house were $5,900 a year. So that makes it $491 a month. Water or sewer, again, we don't have to pay this on a single family house because we know who's the one using the water. It's the one person. So we would leave this at 0. But if it was a building with 4 units, and then we would probably use at least $50 to $75 per unit per month for water. So that would be on a monthly basis, $200 or $2,400 in a yearly basis. And that would change it to whatever this should have been. I don't know why it didn't happen. Yeah, I'll fix the code right now because if I share this with you guys, I want it to be right. C 34 divided by 12. Got it. All right. All right, cool. But this is a single family, so we're leaving it at 0. Now, vacancy factor. People don't think about vacancy factor. They don't think about maintenance factor, and they don't think about management. They never think about these things, but they're real. So for instance, vacancy, what does that mean? It means sometimes your home is not going to have a tenant. Now, is that going to happen all the time? Probably not. Probably not in our market. Probably not in this market that we're in. Probably always going to have a tenant. But sometimes your tenant leaves without giving you enough notice. Sometimes your tenant doesn't pay you rent. So you always have to factor something in. 5 is like the industry norm that we use for vacancy. So if you factor in a 5% vacancy factor, that would cost you, not that there is a tangible cost to it, but it could reflect to be about $1,300 a year if you've got a tenant that doesn't give you enough notice or a tenant that doesn't pay you. Now in Jersey, if someone doesn't pay you, good luck getting them out because it could take forever. So this could actually go up if someone's not paying you. So we'll just leave it at this for now. Make sure you screen your tenants really well. This is $1,320 a year, a 5% maintenance factor. This means that, hey, they're going to call you and tell you that the plumbing is broken. They're going to call you and tell you that, the electrical is giving them problems. They're going to call you and tell you the roof is leaking. So $1,300 a year is still very, very modest, for a house. So we'll leave it at that anyway. A 5% management fee, another 5%, guys. This is based off of the gross rent. So the gross rent is $2,600. 5% of that would be this, okay? So now management, he may not choose to have a manager. He may manage it himself. So that may not cost him anything, okay? So we'll leave it at that. So now the total expense that he's gonna have without a mortgage every month, without factoring in a mortgage, is $1,011. You guys see that? $1,011.67. That's just insurance. That's just taxes. That's just vacancy factor, and that's just maintenance, okay? $1,000. Now, when you looked at this originally, you're probably thinking to yourself like, oh, there's no expenses, just $1,300 a month in income, really no expenses. Well, insurance and taxes, they've already accounted for a large chunk, of that, and hopefully it doesn't have a vacancy or too much maintenance, but $1,000 a month, guys, in expenses, right? That you didn't even know were there. Now, what happens if he has a mortgage? Now, if he's got a mortgage, now that goes up to $2,371 a month that it's going to cost him to run this place. Remember what Sarah says that he could probably get for rent? $2,200 a month. Do you think he's going to want to do $2,200 a month once he sees this? He's going to be like, what? Wait, I'm not going to make any money. So now he's going to think to himself, I got to charge a little more. I got to charge at least 25, so now you start to see why this stuff really makes sense. Now, what's your net income? Now, this is important. How much are you going to net? How much money are you actually going to net? Now, without a mortgage, you would be netting $1,000 a month. That's great. That's awesome, right? But if you didn't have a mortgage, it would take you approximately 240 months for you to actually catch up to not having a mortgage, because you paid $240 for it, you don't have a mortgage, you're making $1,000 a month. It's going to take you 240 months to get your money back. Okay, so think about it that way too. Okay, now net income with a mortgage. Now this is your net income if you had a mortgage. It's negative. You're losing $171 every month if you had a mortgage on this place. That reflects to about $2,000 a year. Okay, these are real losses. These are not like paper losses that your accountant does in order to save you money. These are real losses. So now we got to play around with numbers and make sure that, this is not probably what we should be paying. So when we scroll down here, we see, okay, well, we've got $240,000 that we're paying for this place. Soft costs are going to be another $15,000 because why? Because we have closing costs when we buy. Number of vacant months in case he's going to renovate it, 3 months. Carrying costs for 3 months, mortgage, insurance, and utilities are going to be $9,500 for those 3 months that he's going to be carrying. And we can change this to anything and it'll automatically change everything else. If he's taking out a hard money loan and he's getting draws, he's getting money in increments, his first draw might be $26,000, depending on how much construction he's going to need. Here we can play around with the amount of construction. We can say, all of this can be changed if we wanted to. So let's just say that the loan amount was 192 because, you know, he's putting down 20% or whatever the case is. Let's just say the rehab is light. Maybe the rehab's only $25,000, you know, something like that. You know, that changes things. So then that means the total loan amount is going to be 217 because we changed the construction cost that we're going to need. And we go down here and then it changes everything as well. So it changes all the things. So now it tells you your carrying costs for the first 3 months are going to be 8,125. Your first draw, they're going to give you $8,333 for you to be able to start the construction with. Well, not start. You got to start with your own money, and then they reimburse you for the first amount of work you did. So the cap rate, this is important. A lot of people don't understand what a cap rate is. I know you guys remember hearing it when you were going to school for your license, but a cap rate basically means how long or how much of a percentage of capital are you making on your investment. Okay, so if you bought this thing cash, right? If you bought this thing cash, you'd be making 5.94% return on your money. So basically this means it's going to take you a pretty long time in order to recoup your money. A 5.9% rate of return is pretty low. You know, it's not, doesn't get me excited. You know, double digits on a cap rate is what I would be looking for. Okay, so 5.94% is pretty low. How do we increase this? How do we make this higher? Two ways. We either charge more rent or get a cheaper price, or a combination of the two. If we do that, then our cap rates go up. Okay, now the cap rate on the down payment, which means that if all we did was just factor in the cap rate that we're making, if we're getting a loan, if we're getting a mortgage, and we're putting, let's say 20% down, let's just say our down payment's 20% of easy numbers. Let's say he pays $250 for it. So that would be like $50,000. So the cap rate on our $50,000 is 1.74%, which is still not that exciting, you know, the numbers that we're seeing here. So another thing we got to think about is, like, can our client even afford it? How much money does he actually need in order to be able to take this place down? He's going to need cash needed for this deal, about $79,000 between his down payment, his closing costs, the first draw. I recently got a call from one of our agents here in our group. She said, hey, my client's we're literally at the last minute. We're in 11th hour and my client doesn't have enough money to close on this deal. My client's short $12,000. She's like, you know, I don't know how this is even possible. I don't even know how we got here. You know, if she would have done this with her client, she would have known exactly what the client would have needed. And he would have been, everybody would have been fine from day one. But now they're at the closing table, and now he's asking everybody to take money off their deal in order to make this transaction close. So this is why sometimes we need to look at these numbers beforehand. So the total money into this deal is going to be $288,000 with all repairs, purchase price, all the things that you're going to need. The after repair value. Well, how do we know the after repair value? Well, remember we did that comp search before. It's $390,000. That's what we said. So the max cash out after repairs. So after this guy finishes the house and it's all beautiful, the most that a lender's got to give him is about 80% of what it's worth. So he'll be able to go to a bank and say, hey, cash me out. I want to, you know, do this again. Well, the most the bank's going to give him is $312,000. But this is actually really, really, really good because the total money he has into the deal is $288. So if he's only into the deal for $288 and he can go to a bank and get $312, well, that means he can get all of his money back and he can put that money back to work. Now, this part of the deal makes sense. The part of the deal that doesn't make sense is his net cash flow. His net cash flow really didn't look that good until I just recently went up here and I changed the construction finance to 25,000 because it was initially set at like 80,000. Okay, so I changed that to 25 grand, and now things changed on the mortgage payment. They changed, so now he's actually making $103 a month, which is okay. You know, as long as the deal house breaks even or makes you money, that's good. It's always better to have a little bit more. So now we can actually start to play around with these numbers. Let's just say he wants to put more money down. Let's just say he wants to put down, I don't know, 25%. So I'll change this instead of 20, I'll change that to 25. He wants to put 60,000 down. He's the finance, the rehab that he's going to take out. let's just say it's going to be 30,000. Now we can also do this if it's all cash, and we can eliminate all of these things, and it'll change the numbers down here as well for you. Let's just say it's 30,000. The total loan amount now is going to be 222. I know I'm going pretty fast, guys, and I'm going to go over this again with your questions. So don't worry about that. The total loan amount now that he's going to be taking out minus his closing cost, minus his down payment is 222,000. The max that the lender would allow him to take out on that loan based on what the after repair value is 253,000. That's the most that they would allow him to take out. So he's under that. So he's okay. He's well within his limits. Now, these numbers now represent what he's going to be paying on a monthly basis. So now that we change that a little bit, now he's at $78 a month in profit. If it was no mortgage, he'd be at $1,100 a month in profit. So what we can do right now is play around with these numbers just a little bit, right? Now, to my right, I want you to look at this. These are examples of cap rates. So for this house to be at a 5% cap rate, we could pay $285,000 for this house. Okay, so it's automatically telling you based on all the things we change here, it's telling you here what you can actually pay on this house in order to get desired cap rates. So if our desired cap rate was a 5% cap rate, capitalization rate, we can pay 285, but we're not. We're paying 240. Okay, so that means we're doing a little bit better than just the 5% cap rate. If we were looking for a 6% cap rate, then we can only pay 237 for this house. If we wanted a 7%, we could pay 203. 8%, we can pay 178. If we want a 9% cap, we can pay 158. If we want a 10% cap, this is where it gets very interesting, because this is where I like to look for my deals. At a 10% capitalization rate, which means that you're making 10% on your money every single year, which means in 10 years, your home is going to be completely all paid off, basically based on what you paid for it. So your income every year is going to chip away 10% of what you paid for. So in 10 years, that home is completely all paid for based on the rent. But it's going to be even quicker than that, because every year you're going to raise the rent. So you can probably end up getting a home that has a 10% cap rate year one paid off in like 8 years. So this is very exciting. So you'd pay only $142,000 if you wanted a 10% cap rate. But remember what I said earlier, $2,200 is too cheap for that rent. So what if we change that rent to, let's say, $2,750? What would happen then? If we changed it to $2,750, the purchase price stayed exactly the same. Look what happens at our cap rates now. Our cap rates now completely change. Now, in order for us to get a 10% cap rate, we could pay $202. That's a big difference, guys. That's an additional $60,000 we could pay on that property, because we increased the rent by about $550. Big difference. Now look at our monthly income. Our cash flow went from $71 to $573 a month. That looks a lot better. Look at our net income without a mortgage. If the guy didn't have a mortgage, $1,683 a month. So as you can see, if you play around with these numbers, you get much better numbers if you just look at maybe better properties or better income or less expenses. And if you look at your cap rate now, went from being at a 5% to now being at an 8.4, a very respectable 8.4%. So if he paid $240, he'd be making 8.4% on his money, which is not bad at all. Pretty good. All right. I know I covered this one's the more complicated out of the two, and I know I went pretty fast. So I'm sure you guys have some questions, unless you weren't really interested in this type of stuff. But if you are and you have some questions, please ask away right now so I can explain or do this again with you.
It is very thorough. I just really want to get in and play with the numbers, because I do have an investor myself. So this teaching came right on time, because I know that I have to make the numbers make sense, but I did not know how to explain it to him to make the numbers make sense, because he's a first timer.
Yeah, when I first got started in real estate, I had no idea how to value commercial property. Commercial property is based on cap rates, guys, income. And if you don't know how to factor in income, you don't know where do I start? When I first sat down with my broker at the time, and I was like, I have this commercial property. Somebody wants to make an offer on, but I have no idea like what it's worth. How do I do? He goes, oh, it's simple. All you have to do is take the income, subtract the expenses, and then you figure out how much it makes, and then you gotta figure out the cap rate. And I'm like, whoa, what? like, how do we do that on paper? Like, show me. Like, it was so hard for me to understand what he was talking about. But obviously, necessity being the mother of invention, I built out this calculator, which kind of gives you everything you need in one place. Which it tells you, how much you're going to make cash on cash, how much you're going to make cash on the entire acquisition. It just tells you everything. It even breaks down how much rehab you're going to need on the property. It factors that in. So, and it even tells you what you should be paying if your investors like, no, I only buy 10% cap rates. Like, well, if you need a 10% cap rate, this home right now is charging too little for rent. It's a month-to-month lease. We can jack that lease up to $3,000 a month. Now we can get you to a 10% cap rate. Oh, okay, I like that. See, but if you don't have something like this, you can't have those kind of conversations.
Yeah. Is there any, have you ever worked with veterans?
VAs?
Yeah, because the guy that I'm working with, I don't know what benefits they have when they want to do income property.
I didn't know you could use VA for income property. Can you? For investment property?
He's telling me yes.
Okay.
So I'm
Believe-
gonna look more into that.
I believe with the veterans, if he's using, I guess, the VA loan and he does like a multifamily, he has to live in one unit, but he can't just use it to purchase, say for instance, a single family home and just rent it out. He has to reside on the property. So with them, they have to look into like other financing, like other loans to use if they're gonna, buy property and use it as investment, but they always have to live on the premises. It has to be like their main address.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of people house hack. So if they're using the VA to get their first investment property, there's nothing wrong with that.
Mhm.
That's a cheap way to go about it. Very cheap way to go about it.
Okay.
Yeah. That'd be a home run for him because interest rates are going to be ridiculously low. No mortgage insurance, no down payment. Like that's a home run if you could do that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, good. I'm gonna play with it and I will definitely text you
Yeah.
if I get stuck with
Awesome.
working with him, please.
Awesome. I also pasted the link for this one, guys, for this pro forma in the chat. So if you guys want access to this one as well, go ahead and use it. So now Sarah's going to go back to her client and say, hey, yes, I was running some numbers on that property you wanted to make an offer on. And why is it that you only want to pay 240? Like, what's your desired income, cash flow? Like, are you going for cash flow, cap rate? Like, what are you trying to do? What's your goal? And if he says, I don't know, my goal is just to make, I want to make it's 5% on my money. I want to make 5% a year. So, okay, 5% a year. Well, if you just want to make 5% on your, on your money per year, well, if that's the case, you got a lot of room. Because if 5 cap rate was your goal, you can pay up to 400 for this house. We can charge $27.50 a month in rent. Well, you got to check these rents, Sarah. I don't know if these rents are accurate for the area, but if they're not, then obviously you can change this, and then you can make the numbers make sense. You change it up here, and then it changes everything. And then you can say, well, that means you don't have to pay 240, Mr. Cheapskate. Remember, you're calling him a cheapskate because he only wants to pay 240. Maybe he can pay 250 and still get his desired goal, or maybe he's paying too much, that's where this comes into play, where, he's like, oh, wow, like, Sarah, this is amazing. Thank you so much, Sarah. I'll never use another agent again because no one has ever showed me this, so this is good.
Thank you, Lois.
No problem at all. No problem at all. So now, any questions on this, Sarah? So, I mean, I can go.
I'm gonna have to watch this recording one more time. It was a lot of information.
Okay. Yeah, this is a lot. And I went pretty fast. I know I did because I've probably done this.
I've never seen anything like this before, so it's my first time.
This is called a pro forma. So if you ever hear a pro forma term thrown around in the commercial world in real estate, a pro forma is very different than an income and expense sheet. Okay, an income and expense sheet for a property is the exact amount of income they're getting and the exact amount of expenses that they're getting. Okay, a pro forma is almost kind of like is almost kind of like an outlook of what the property could produce, right? So you guys being residential real estate agents, for the most part, if you delve into the commercial world, even for one day, and you ask listing agents for information on their commercial properties, a lot of times they're going to try to give you the pro formas. Why do they try to give you the pro formas? Because the rents a lot of times aren't as high as they can be. The property might have deferred what's it called, maintenance that they're not factoring in there that it might need. So what they're basically giving you a lot of times is the best case scenario. So a pro forma is almost like factoring out all the things you have right now and factoring in what it could be in the future. Okay, that's a pro forma. Now, if you were buying a property that already had existing tenants, leases, expenses, everything, you want to see not just the pro forma, you want to see the income and expense data, because that's going to tell you what it's making right now. A lot of times in a bull market, when people are paying what through the nose for a property, a lot of times people pay based on the pro forma, on what it could be worth in the future. So that's a little bit unfair. That's not really, like, if you're an investor and you're buying properties based on pro formas, you're basically shooting yourself in the foot, because what you're doing is it's good to know what you could make on it, but it's not good to pay based on future rents, because that's your profit. What you're going to increase the rents by, and what repairs you're going to make that property worth more money, that is your profit. But if you're giving the seller what the home is going to be worth after those increases and after those repairs, now today, you're basically taking away your profit. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? So what I'm trying to tell you is never allow your clients to pay buy properties on higher cap rates based on the pro forma. Always base their offers on the current income and expenses on the property, because an agent might tell you, oh, this property has a 10 cap, and you look at it and you're like, yeah, it shows a 10 cap on your pro forma, but those rents aren't accurate right now. Those are rents that are in the future. Yeah, but it's easy. You can just, get one tenant out at a time, raise the rents, and, come to find out the property is rent controlled, and, the tenants have been there for 30 years. It could become a problem. That's why you don't do that. You always base your cap rates when you're buying a property for an investor, when you're trying to negotiate based on the current income and expense. Does that make sense? I know I kind of beat that point to death, but I don't want you guys to make that mistake. I want you guys to be experienced when you have a conversation with these arrogant commercial agents. They always feel like we're subpar when we communicate with them, because we specialize in residential. But as long as you guys know that major difference, that'll save you a lot of issues, a lot of problems.
Thank you, Louis. It's always good to know the right questions to ask.
Good. All right. Anybody else want to add anything or have a question before we go? Oh man, you guys absorbed everything. You guys are like sponges.
It was a lot of information.
Good. Yeah, I know I kind of go through this stuff pretty fast, and some of you guys have seen this stuff, but it's always good to brush up on it. I know I haven't really touched on it too much in the recent months, because there really hasn't been much to assess, but now I'm actually getting properties that are starting to make sense. So I start breaking these calculators out again.
Louis, do you think we are in a temporary buyer's market and it's going to change again, or this is how it's going to continue now?
Temporary buyer's market, I think it's going to be correcting. I think it's going to be come back to more normal. The thing is that we can't say, okay, we're in one extreme, we're going to go directly to the next extreme. There's a lot of phases and stages in between the two polar opposites. We were at one polar opposite, which is an extreme seller's market. We're not going to go overnight, or maybe even this year, to an extreme buyer's market. Let's just enjoy some of the normalcy for once, because I'm finally getting offers accepted. I'm happy about that. I almost felt like we were just professional Uber drivers and offer makers for a while, because that's really all we were doing. Is you're driving around with people, making offers and not getting anything accepted. If you were lucky enough to be on the listing end, then of course that's money in the bank. But there's a lot of buyers out there who have been just demoralized and haven't been able to buy anything. So now a little normalcy is good. So I think we're going to go through stages. And once we start approaching those stages later on, if we do get to that point where things start to get very, very saturated inventory on the market, we get a lot of inventory. That's why I always say, guys, got to keep track of what's on the market. If we start to see a lot of inventory on the market and we start seeing more interest rate hikes, then we're definitely going to have a big slowdown for sure. And I welcome it because we can make money in those markets. So yeah, hopefully we get some of all of it, normalcy and some extremities too.
Yeah. And what about your coaching course?
Yeah.
When is it going to start?
Oh, you're talking about for the investments?
Correct.
Yeah, I'm working on that. So give me, I would say, hopefully it's going to be ready by, we're in August. I would say the later part of September, probably be ready to roll out. So keep an eye on that for now. But I mean, just give me some time. It'll be good. And you guys are going to really appreciate that.
Thank you.
No problem. All right. I think we might have a question in the chats. No, I think we're good. All right. So let's go ahead. We're going to close out. Awesome. All right. Father God, we thank you for having us here today like we always do, Father. We can never take what we have in our lives, and we can never take this moment for granted, Father. So we thank you. We're very grateful for all of it. Lord, we ask you to please look over our households and look over our business, not only today, Father, but throughout the remainder of our week, Father, till we meet here. Once again, we ask you to always be with us and bless us in any way possible, in every way possible, Father, so we could be a blessing to those around us and the people that we influence. Father, we just ask you to please always continue to bless us with health and just allow us to be there for the people who need us most in our lives. And also we want to really extend a prayer out, Father, to the people who can't be on this call today for medical reasons and for one reason or another, Father, but they need you just as much as we do. And we pray over them, Father, and know you will never leave their side. In Jesus' name we pray, Father, until we meet again next week. Amen. Thanks, guys. Have a good week.
Thank you so
Have a
much.
good week, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.